Next is probably one of the biggest, probably the biggest game of the season, of the regular season. It is Tennessee 8-0, 4-0 in the SEC at Georgia, 8-0, 5-0 in the SEC. That is 3:30 on CBS. One thing to note here that could be potentially big is Georgia just found out one of their defensive leaders, edge rusher Nolan Smith, is out for the rest of the season with the torn pectoral muscle suffered in the Florida game. Timeline for his return amid the NFL draft process is still fluid. So obviously, as we mentioned before, life is about more than just football. So hopefully he can get back to doing what he loves to do, and it's not affected long-term by that. Let's kind of break down some of the numbers here. We've talked a lot about offense and defense. Tennessee is number one overall with 553 yards per game in the total offense. Georgia's number two overall, 530 yards per game. Yards per play, Tennessee is number three overall. But when I say overall, I mean in the country. And at 7.4 yards per play, Georgia number four overall at 7.24 yards per play. Total defense, Tennessee is number 82 overall at 393.6 yards allowed per game. Georgia number four overall at 262 yards allowed per game. Scoring offense, Tennessee number one, once again in an offensive stat, overall at 49.4 points per game. Georgia number six overall at 41.8 points per game. Scoring defense, Tennessee number 26 overall at 21 points allowed per game. Georgia number two overall at 10.5 points allowed per game. Look, I'm not going to continue, but you get the drift, right? Most of these stats mirror these similarities. Both of these teams being near the top of offensive stats, and Georgia with the edge on defensive stats. However, Georgia has not really played an offense like this yet this year. So with all those things in mind, Jesse, what is your prediction for this game?
Dude, I don't even know. I just put in a prediction. Like, I looked at all the notes earlier and I've been marinating on this and I'm so conflicted. But this is the game of the worst. For me as a Bama fan, sorry, not sorry.
Yeah.
I am gonna pick the Vols, and this is gonna be a close one, and it may even go to OT, honestly. I'm picking the Vols 38-35. They win by a field goal. It's in the last little bit. This is going to be a slugfest.
Okay. Matt, what do you got, my friend?
Wes, I'm probably gonna trigger you when I say this.
Triggered already.
I am very nervous about this game because one of two things is going to happen. One, Tennessee's going to lay an egg, which is what I'm automatically defaulting to in my brain and making my peace with, because that's what life has been as a Tennessee fan for the past 20 years.
I empathize.
Tennessee laying an egg and not getting things done. However, I think that Tennessee has a legitimate chance to shock the world on this one. If things work properly, if the defense is able to get a couple of critical stops, if Hendon Hooker and Jalen Hyatt and Jabari Small and all those guys are able to click along and execute and work like they're supposed to, I think this Georgia team can lose by 2 scores. I want to point out that this is a Georgia team that has played exactly one ranked opponent all season long, and that was Oregon in week 1. Since then, they've played Samford, South Carolina, Kent State, Missouri, Auburn, Vanderbilt, and Florida. None of those teams are good. The only one that's Midland would probably be Oregon and maybe Florida, but we saw what happened with Florida. So with that being said, I think Tennessee is going to come out early and they're going to score early. And I think this is going to be a game where Georgia's offense is going to have to play catch up. And I think that this is also going to be a situation where mistakes are going to happen, turnovers are going to happen. And I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb here and say Tennessee wins this thing 42-28.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I think that's I'd say they've definitely got more than just a chance. You said they got a chance. I think it's definitely more than that. I think for Georgia, I think Tennessee being ranked number 1 is the absolute best thing that could have happened.
That definitely doesn't help
in terms of pumping them up. Yeah. Obviously, like we said, it's the biggest game for both of these teams. I feel you on the schedule. Obviously, the committee has made it known that they are not impressed with Georgia's resume so far. And so obviously Tennessee is riding this high, hoping they've caught lightning in a bottle, much like the 2019 LSU team. Georgia still is not going to get a home night game. I don't know why we can't get one of those. CBS is insistent on keeping the 3:30 slot for this one, which I just don't understand. But I mean, I guess
thank goodness.
I guess
it's
ultimately,
prime time. I mean,
yeah, I mean, I guess ultimately they're still going to get a ridiculous number of viewers regardless. So they don't really care from that standpoint, from a business standpoint. Coach Kirby Smart, who's typically quiet on Twitter, other than the occasional "Go Dogs" when a recruit commits to UGA, tweeted the following on Sunday. He said, "Saturday, we need Dog Nation to affect the game," with 2 exclamation points. "If you can talk when you leave, you didn't yell enough," with 2 more exclamation points. So I think he understands what's at stake here, with the loser having a much more difficult path to the playoff, if any path even exists. I think it's a little bit more difficult path for Georgia than Tennessee, just obviously judging by the committee rankings right now. Tennessee, to their credit, the environment at Neyland has been just insane this year. It's incredible, and I think really has propelled them to some amazing wins this year. So it'll be interesting to see how this road environment affects them. I don't know if you guys remember, but at the beginning of this season, Kirby said, "We will not be hunted at the University of Georgia. We will be the hunters." And honestly, that was a little bit of prophecy, because I think he's right. I mean, we are having to be the ones doing the hunting right now. I think Georgia was the easy favorite in the East to start the season, but then this fell beast rises from the shadow of the East. Sorry, I've been reading a lot of Lord of the Rings. Thanks to Rings of Power.
I like that. That's good.
And now all of a sudden, people are kind of scared, and rightly so. I think we'll know. I think we're going to know about halfway through the first quarter if Georgia has a chance or not. If it's 14-0 Tennessee and Georgia's just gone 3 and out again, I think Georgia's essentially done, because I don't think we survive a shootout. I don't think that's in the resume right now. However, I will say we've been scoring a lot of points ourselves this year. So I do love the fact that all this hype seems to be centering around Tennessee's offense, and people are very quiet about Georgia's offense. I'm resigned. I've accepted the fact that there will be some big plays by Tennessee. I mean, that's just by default. I mean, it's just going to happen, right? There's really no way around it. But if Georgia can get stops on defense, I think we can actually use the tempo offense against Tennessee and tire their defense out. So currently Vegas, or at least the last time I looked, maybe it's changed since this afternoon, Vegas has Georgia by 8.5. I expect that number to continue to drop throughout the week. I think it'll be a close one, but I'm hoping the fans can give us the edge. I'm going with UGA 42-38.
Well,
y'all, regardless, as someone who has no literal dog in this fight, because y'all are both dogs, I'm just really happy that you both get Gary together. Just like together.
Speaking of spread, Wes, something I want to point out. I've always been a big proponent of the spread.
Yeah.
And good teams beat other teams, great teams beat the spread.
Right.
And this season, Tennessee is 7-1 against the spread.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got a good feeling.
I do not think that Georgia has fared that well, judging by the scores that I've seen.
I am curious what Georgia looks like against the spread. Hold on a moment.
Yeah, just thinking of the scores in my head, I'm guessing it's not even anywhere close to that.
Probably not that. It's probably like
maybe like half of that.
I would say 5-3.
They're 4-4 against the spread this season.
Yeah, makes sense. All right. Well, either way, I think it'll be a good one, and like I said, looking forward to it.